And we're live.
The Premier League is back. After 3 months of lockdown, top flight football returns. One game in and we've already had controversy and discussion points. This is Matchday Live. I'm Lee Wilshire, and virtually alongside me in the Matchday Live studio is Natalie Bromley.
Hello, guys. Premier League is back. This is so exciting. But you don't want to hear from us. Who better than to give us the lowdown on these games than the fans themselves? So joining us tonight are, firstly, City fan Asa McGrath. Asa, welcome to the show. Talk us through your starting lineup, please.
Evening, Natalie. Evening, Lee. We have Edison in goal, a back four of Walker, Eric Garcia, Emerick Laporte and Benjamin Mendy. Midfield three of Gundogan, De Bruyne and David Silva. And up front we have Mahrez, Sterling and Jesus.
Excellent. Well, what about the other dugout? Well, joining us also this evening is Arsenal fan Jason Chilmey. Jason, give us the Arsenal lineup, please.
Good evening, guys. So in goal today we've got Leno. At the back, playing the back four of Bellerin, Mari, Mustafi and Tierney. And in front of them we've got Xhaka and Guendouzi, with some attacking midfielders of Nketiah on the right, Joe Willock, Saka on the left, and they're led by Aubameyang up front.
Two different, different formations there, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game, is this one?
Yeah, so the players are kind of out on the pitch in a... I mean, obviously it's June, so it's going to be raining in Manchester, So yeah, that's pretty standard, yeah?
It's not raining, it's a thunderstorm.
Is that what it is?
For the third night running, it's a thunderstorm.
God, we're 3 minutes into this new show and we're already throwing the north-south divide around. What in the world is going on?
Might stay that long, to be fair.
It's seriously, it's a beautiful sunny evening on the south coast for me, so that's fine. So we've already had one game. I mean, where do we even start with a controversy on that as this game's about to kick off? But did you guys see that? I mean, how the goal wasn't given, I just do not understand. Just absolutely insane.
Not got a clue.
Just
that simple.
I've never seen Hawkeye quite go as wrong as it did. I'm guessing at the start of this game we're going to get the same situation that we had at the beginning of that game, where the players are going to kind of put a message out very much about Black Lives Matters. That looks like that's happening at the moment on the big screens in the stadium.
Yep, I imagine. Go on, Natalie.
I was just going to say it was a pretty powerful image from the first game. I don't think it was something that I was fully expecting to be as powerful as it was, but to do it as soon as a whistle went for 10 seconds, it definitely gave a message for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether that is something which we're going to see it every one of the games or what. Obviously there's the minute silence taking place as well for obviously what's gone on with the pandemic and everything as well, and all the people that have lost their lives with that. So much going on, so much emotion, isn't there? Really, as well as football coming back, it's kind of a release of emotion with everything that's gone on in the past 3 months, really.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, especially after they've had 100-day break since the last game. I think we're going to see is a lot of teams. It's a long old time for a lot of teams, isn't it? Because of teams like Wolves and Sheffield United, they're on a great season. Now they've had a 100-day break. How are they going to come back now? Because essentially they've had a whole pre-season before they start playing again. How much of that momentum are they going to keep?
Yeah, we were talking about that, Jason, actually, just before we came on air. I think that was one of the things that maybe Sheffield United struggled with a little bit in the first game, in that just before the breakdown, they were on such a run. They were playing really exciting, attacking football. And out of the two sides, they definitely felt the flattest. It felt like they were struggling with the loss of momentum more. And I wonder if that game had been played in real time, whether that would have been an absolute walkover for Sheffield United. I don't know. It felt that way to me anyway.
Yeah,
very much so. Yeah, go on, Jace.
I guess also with a normal pre-season, you're playing 5, 6, 7, 8 matches, whereas this time you've had about 2-3 weeks worth of notice saying, okay, you're going back to training now, and we're going back to playing live in 2 weeks' time. You haven't got enough time to prepare fully for that, to go from nothing to competitive Premier League action. So I think it's going to take a couple of games for teams to get proper into the swing of things again.
So just before kickoff, then let's get your predictions. Asa, what are you going for?
3-0.
Wow, straight out there. What about you, Jace?
Well, logic would suggest a City win, but optimistically, let's go Arsenal 2-1.
Okay, Arsenal 2-1. Natalie?
I'm gonna say 2-1 to City.
And I've thought 2-0 to City. So there we go. We're covered in a few places there. Our game's just kicked off, so we're underway.
That was an interesting point you just raised, then, Jason, actually, about the momentum and the fact that we're back in almost a pre-season or an early season form. You're right, in some respects, it is going to damage some teams in terms of momentum, but actually it's also going to really benefit other teams. Just going back to that earlier game today, I'm not entirely sure that Villa would have picked up a point if that game had been played. Oh, I thought that goal was going in then. I don't think that they would have necessarily got a point out of that game the most time. So I think the break is potentially going to benefit the teams at the bottom rather than the top. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Especially teams when you're playing your Wolves, Sheffield United, maybe even your Burnleys as well to a degree. They're the teams that were on a good bit of form and you just don't know how they're going to come back.
Well, that's a really interesting point. I have no idea how we're going to come back. Anybody who's listening who doesn't know my allegiance, I bleed claret and blue. I'm absolutely born and raised in Burnley. And you're right. I think we were third in the form table when the break happened. And I think we were unbeaten in about 10 games, something like that. And we were really pushing for top 10. But the break will, of course, halt that momentum. But equally, we're coming back with nothing to play for. We're on 39 points, 1 point from technical safety. We're not going to get into the European places. We're not going to get relegated. So there's, but then we've got to embrace the spirit of the competition and play these last 9 games. It's very odd. Very odd.
It's a difficult one. What would you say? What would you hope for with Jason for a season now for Arsenal? What would you say is going to be a good end to this season to get through these?
It's a really tough one because before the break, I think Arsenal really started to build up some momentum. The form has improved with Arteta. Things are starting to look better. There are a lot of draws early on, but things were really starting to improve. And the break just came at the wrong point, in my opinion. I think we're really starting to look like a team that could have had the chance or maybe pushing up the table into that challenging for the top 4. But with this break, it's so difficult now to predict.
Is he going
interesting to see?
Is he going under the wall? What do you reckon? It seems to specialise in him.
I thought that was a penalty with a fair look. This is the danger of having to record while you're watching. It's like, listeners, if this suddenly goes very quiet for a bit, we've all got really engrossed by the television and we're all forgetting.
And the other tricky thing here is depending on what you're watching it on. There is going to be slight delays on what different people are watching on. That's for sure.
Yeah, I might be a bit of a delay. We're not taking free kick yet online.
That was really close. Was that?
Main event
it's a great save.
They said the main event is about 5 seconds ahead of Sky Sports 2.
Oh, is it? Right, okay. Yeah. Guys, breaking news.
What's Sky Sports 2? Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, what is Sky Sports? Breaking news, there has been an official statement being put out by Hawkeye, who obviously manufacture and produce the goal line technology from the Force that we saw in the earlier game this evening. So I will just read this announcement very quickly. During the first half of Villa versus Sheffield United at Villa Park, there was a goal line incident where the ball was carried over the line by Aston Villa goalkeeper, number 25, Nyland. The match officials did not receive a signal to the watch nor earpiece as per the goal decision system protocol. The 7 cameras located in the stands around the goal area were significantly occluded by the goalkeeper, defender, and the goalpost. This level of occlusion has never been seen before in over 9,000 matches that Hawkeye goal line technology system has been in operation. The system was tested and proved functional prior to the start of the match in accordance with the IFAB laws of the game and confirmed as working by match officials. The system has remained functional throughout. Hawkeye unreservedly apologises to the Premier League, Sheffield United and everyone affected by this incident. Wow.
Well, if that's the case, I don't see what they've got to necessarily apologise for, because they've not done anything wrong. It's just it's an absolute one in a long shot incident. Obviously, there were rumours coming out that actually, there was just a delay in the technology. I thought you were going to say to me for 1 second, breaking news. Michael Oliver's been on and confirmed that he's just had it on his watch that the England third goal in 1966 didn't cross the line. That's what I thought you were going to tell me.
Excellent stuff. But no, that is a really important point, though. It's like you can't put out a statement like that and have two conflicting messages. In the first half, you're telling us that it was an absolute complete anomaly that's never happened before, and it's just an event that just wasn't remotely foreseen, but then apologising unreservedly for it. Well, it's like, well, what are you apologising for? It's either
you don't apologise. It's unfortunate it's happened, but actually, there's nothing they could have done.
Nothing anybody could have done. Yeah, you're better to say we appreciate that this is hugely frustrating for Sheffield United in the Premier League, but we reassure you that we have faith in the system, and this is just a complete anomaly that we should not see happen again. Ace, someone's gone down here. Who's this?
It's
Xhaka that's gone down.
Yeah, it collided with his own player.
Oh wow!
So they have to get the medical team now from inside so they're not on pitch side anyway. The actual kind of the stretcher teams by the looks of it anymore. And of course the subs seem to be sat halfway up the stand.
So do the press weird. As well. I think I've seen quite a lot of press all over the place. Oh, this doesn't look good.
Yeah, he struggled to get back up straight away, and then he went down as soon as there was a break in play.
Was it?
Studs into the ground and gone over.
They're the awkward ones, are they? Where you've put a standing foot down that's planted, isn't it? And then it makes it really difficult. Then sometimes if you take that, the leg can naturally move, but if you've actually planted it, it really is it's a nasty one.
Yeah, it's never a good sign when you either collide with fresh air or you collide with your own player. They're usually the ones. What a shame. Been out.
So to be fair, most of our fans will say that's a blessing in disguise. So.
Yeah. where do you stand with Xhaka?
I'm not a fan. I think it's a bit of a waste of space, to be fair.
Fair enough.
It's looking like Tobias is coming on for him, and that could be a really positive change for Arsenal.
Good stuff. God, United, I was going to call United then, City. So I've still got Sheffield United on my brain from earlier. Ace, that was a terrible slip. What a mistake to make to call City United. That's not going to go down well. You're not going to endear yourself to you, is it?
No.
It's all right. They're meaningless to you these days. I was just going to say then, Ace, you must be pleased with the tempo that City has started this game. They've come out of here at 1,000 miles an hour.
They have, but I'm already a little bit concerned with how easily we're letting Arsenal through as well, because they've got through twice already in my eyes. Another close one. But they seem to. It's just that little bit of frailty at the back with a partnership who probably haven't played before.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of that. Do you subscribe to this theory that we're going to see a lot of very odd results in these first few games just because of the weird stadium atmosphere and the break in play? Do you think it's going to throw up some weird results, or do you just think games will follow as we think they will do?
If you think about it, these guys haven't played behind this lower crowd since they were 10, 11, probably.
True.
So there's going to be a massive impact at some point. Will there be weird results? Absolutely. Everyone's, like Jason said earlier, everyone's had nearly 3 months off or over 3 months off playing football.
Yeah.
There's going to be some changes. Laporte hasn't played football for ages for City. Injury after injury, and now he's back and decently okay, hopefully. Garcia hasn't actually played in the Premier League for City yet.
Exciting stuff. Laporte was probably the biggest. Well, actually, is that a fair assumption? Would you say if Laporte hadn't have been injured this season, you probably would have given Liverpool a bigger fight for the title?
No chance. I alluded to it on the first show I was on with the poker. We never replaced company. It was that simple. We've not got. It's the defender itself, but it's also the personality. So to me, there's a huge miss there.
Yeah, so very strange.
So the biggest thing that question that I think I raised from the first game, having watched it, is how did all these Premier League footballers manage to get haircuts?
I'm going to work on the assumption that they brought in barbers as
you reckon?
Who got tested and were allowed in within. They've got these coloured zones, haven't they, in football? I think they've got red, amber, and green zones now in each of the stadiums, and you're only allowed in certain. Like you have a colour pass when you get in, and you're only allowed in the bottom. I reckon barbers get into the green zone around the top, and players can just go and get their hair cut.
Saying that, I was actually going to say before the start, it's the most hair I've ever seen on David Silva's head. So
probably is in his case, yeah, very much so.
I have to say though, one thing that I think this guy is an incredible footballer, and I think I would be delighted if he was in our team. But there are certain things about Jack Grealish that really wind me up. And I think I'd watched about 30 seconds of the Villa Sheffield United game, and with the plait he had in his hair and the child's shin pads he was wearing, I was irritated literally within about 30 seconds of the game. I was just like, for God's sake, you've plaited your hair and you've got children's shin pads on.
But I thought he had a very good game, actually.
I thought it was superb.
There wasn't a huge amount of quality in that game, but actually I thought Grealish was one of the better players on the pitch.
He's just a fantastic player, and I'm really pleased he got his chance in the Premier League. It's a bit of a weird one, really. I think from that was a great pass. I kind of feel like I'm pleased for him that he got to experience his first season with his childhood club, with he wanted to be with Villa. But I also feel that he could have just done so much better in a better side this season. But you know what? I don't think Villa will keep hold of him even if they stay up. So you would think that he would. I think he's just got a great future, and I think he's got to start forcing himself into the England setup before long, for surely.
I would have thought
one of them
so.
Players that you don't know how he will adjust moving to a bigger club. We've seen it so many times before where you've had standout young players at smaller clubs when they've moved on to big clubs, they've just got lost.
Yeah,
it'd be really interesting to see if he can move to a big club and make that impact.
Yeah, I think you're right, Jason. I think a lot of it is, he knows that club inside out, and he's kind of got the freedom of that midfield, hasn't he? He can just do whatever he wants and run around. If he does move to a bigger club, he's going to be slightly more reined in terms of operating in a very strict setup with what a different manager wants. He probably won't have the same freedom. But I guess it depends on where he goes to.
It'd be interesting to see. I thought in that game, after they got lucky with the goal that should have stood, I felt Villa missed out on an opportunity to go on and try and really pick up the 3 points there, because it would have made a massive difference to them.
You forget though that Villa, no disrespect to any Villa fans that are listening, but they haven't been very good this season, and I think by their own admission they will be kind of disappointed with the way that their season went, considering the money that they spent and the claims that they wanted to progress and the size of the club. I can't stand this big club tag that people have. I've got issues about that, but that's another story. That's another story for another day. Predominantly because we're not a big club, that's why it's just envy. And I think they'll probably reflect on this season and just feel a little bit disappointed with how it's gone. Some of the chances that they created some decent half chances tonight, but their finishing is so poor.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, question for you, Asa. I put Aguero in my fantasy football team, thinking, right, he's going to come out all guns blazing, going for it. So, why has he not started tonight?
I have no idea. It was actually all over the City media yesterday that Jesus will be playing today. There's no word.
You think I read that stuff?
Yeah, no,
I mean,
but there's been no actual word why.
Okay.
I can only imagine that Aguero isn't the best starter at a season. I find it does take a little bit of time to get going, whereas Jesus is normally on the ball straight away. That's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah. That's fair enough. And I struggled to put any Arsenal players in, Jason. I feel like I should apologise, but it really was. I did look through the squad and go, right, who's going to be some value there? And I really struggled. I mean, yeah, they haven't really got anyone that's kind of stand out really. That's seems to be good value at the moment in the fantasy
Yeah,
world.
it's really tough, especially when playing a team like City. It's one of the games where you don't really want to put many Arsenal players in because you don't expect them to get much out. Especially defenders. If anyone's got any Arsenal defenders in their fantasy football teams, they just need their head examined because who the hell would want an Arsenal defender with that defensive qualities? But it's like...
And is that where you think in the summer, or whenever the summer transfer window is going to be, that's where you think Arsenal really need to strengthen?
Oh, without a doubt, it's by far the weakest part of our team.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've got Saliba coming back from loan who we signed last summer. Things out at St Etienne, still back on loan. So it'd be interesting to see how he fits into the team. And we've been linked with some good defenders through, well, pretty much this year. Be interesting to see if any of them come off. Because if they do, we could be looking at a really decent defence for next year. But there has been some progress. I think bringing in Louise on a 1-year deal at the time was a stupid business. Signing Tierney from Celtic was a blinding move. I think what I've seen, he's been absolutely brilliant.
He just had the injuries, didn't he? Which wasn't, so he's not had the best first start to the first half of his career. But ultimately, yes, it's a good signing for the future, isn't it?
Oh, without a doubt, he's really unlucky with the injury he had as well. I think it was with, I think he got it from a bad fall in a challenge. So it'd be definitely interesting to see how he comes back into the fold, really.
Yeah. This has kind of been it's not been a huge amount going on really to start. I think I can't decide when I watched the first game whether I felt it kind of looks like a pre-season or whether it just is the fact that that really is just kind of where it's at when you haven't played competitive football for 3 months.
Yeah.
It takes a while to get back in. But I don't ever remember the first games of a normal season feeling quite like this. Maybe it's the stadiums being empty as well don't help the situation.
I think it's twofold really. You've got no fans in the stadium, so you've got no one there cheering you on. But also you've only played one or two games behind closed doors to prepare. They also played Brentford last week and spectacularly lost that. But you're only getting 1, maybe 2 games to prepare, and normally you've got 5, 6, 7 games, so you're going to be much more match fit at this point. And with the break they've had, they've been mostly not training as well, so
yeah,
very, very tough, I think, for the players. I think you may have kind of forgotten what it was like when you're fully in match mode.
Yeah. Well, just picking up on that point then, Jason, I'm gonna pose this question to both of you, Jason and Asa. Asa, we'll come to you first. Bearing that in mind and bearing that this restart isn't perfect, it is behind closed doors as this potential pre-season friendly style feel about the games. One of the options on the table during the peak of the pandemic when we were deciding what we were going to do was whether or not just avoid the season and just say it's unlucky, we just stop the season and it's gone. Bearing in mind what we've ended up with, is there any part of you that feels that was a credible option now and that you would rather have a void season than what we've ended up with?
Not really.
I think that's a really tough one.
Yeah, I'm not really. I'm quite happy with football restarting now. It's how do you say it? It's the stress of the situation seems to have gone a little bit. There's obviously the lockdown's easing slightly, and to be honest, we all need something to watch that's not normal. TV repeats and things like that, or the news. We need something that's a bit more exciting. And whether this is right, whether this is the perfect situation, I don't know. But I think they've made the best decision they can. The only other option they had is to do what they did in Scotland, which is average points per game. That's it.
Yeah,
I'd rather have this.
I was massively against that. I think when we did the APAT show not so long ago, Des and I were talking about this. To my mind, there was only ever 2 options, and I'm absolutely convinced that this is still the case. You either void the season and it doesn't exist, and we start again in exactly the same positions next season as if it's a brand new season, or we find a way to play to the end of the season. Now, there was various options with playing to the end of the season, neutral venues behind closed doors. try and get some fans in there, whatever it was. But I didn't really matter as long as there was a competitive football element and the players.
Go on.
Oh, it's in. Oh no, it's not. What the heck
was that pass?
What
And
was that?
one of the, I think it might have been Tierney. One of them pulled up. It seemed to be anyway.
Yeah, you've got a wonderful pass coming your way, Lee, in a minute. I don't really understand what you were thinking was there.
What the hell?
I know.
Literally, it was like, he's in. Number 22 looks like he's done something.
Oh,
Is it? Yeah.
what the hell was that?
No. Well, to be honest, the last sort of 5 minutes, Walker's been quite poor. He's given the ball away quite a few times.
Yeah, but he's not match fit, is he? He's going to be missing so much sharpness. We're going to have to just give players such. Do you know what? He's this. We've got more hobbling. There's going to be so many injuries in these first games. You know, I'm really worried about this. I think Burnley probably have the smallest squad in the entire league. We were all laughing when this new substitute initiative was announced, where you could have is it 9 on the bench now, and you can bring 5 on. We were just laughing, saying we ain't got 5 players to bring on, so that's going to make a difference for us. But I guess in some respects our players are used to a very small turnover in terms of substitutes, because we most of our players play every single game for the full 90 minutes. But this level of intensity without the proper pre-season, we're going to see so many injuries, and I am genuinely concerned about this.
I don't think we're going to be that far off. Similar to what you get in the Euros and the World Cup, where basically you have a 23-person squad, and the 12 players that aren't starting are all on the bench, and you can select from them.
You think going forward?
Yeah, I don't see why that isn't just a thing moving forward.
I mean, I would like to, as the token bottom of the league-ish, like small club representative on the show.
You have got 23 players, though, haven't you? I mean, come on, yeah.
Just about. I would just like to point out that we could probably do without yet another thing that favours the top 6 sides. I'm just saying, just not that.
Do you think it would favour them, or do you think it would just favour generally everybody to be able to have more flexibility about changes and? You get the odd occasional time where both 2 goalkeepers can get used up and then a third player has, and just have an extra keeper on the bench.
It's a great idea, but it's clearly favouring the sides that have the bigger budgets and can. There's some teams in the top 6 that have got squad player 56 or whatever it is, and it's just like they can pick players that have got the bigger image right, so they're a bigger pull in terms of wanting to play for them. Your Cities, Chelsea's, Uniteds, those kind of sides. You've got, with the best will in the world, even when Burnley have got money to spend, the wages that we can offer are nowhere near what the bigger clubs can, and a lot of players we've missed out on just because they don't fancy coming to Burnley. So it's not, even sometimes when we want to spend, we can't always bring the players in that we would want. So I'm just saying, the big massive top 6 chip that sits on my shoulder is saying, please don't give me something else that is going to disadvantage us from the rest of the league.
But this is interesting, 20 odd minutes into the game, and there's been a number of injuries here. We saw in the first game, certainly in the second half, a lot of players stretching out, a bit of cramp. And they were certainly utilising the full number of substitutes they could. So it could well be that that's what we see for the first round of games. Wonder whether this would benefit the teams that have played tonight, obviously, because these are obviously the 2 catch-up games to get to a level number of games played for everybody. But whether the fact that they'll have played this game tonight would benefit them on the weekend because it's a little bit more match practice, maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of feel like every team's going to go through this. The first game that they play, I'm not entirely sure whether it matters which. Because the teams that aren't playing until the weekend, or like us, for example, we play City actually at the Etihad on Monday. So we'll be playing them in their second game. That still will be our first game. But, what are we really going to be able to get that much high intensity training in there between now and Monday that will make that much a difference? I just don't think you can replicate this competitive Premier League game, especially somewhere like City.
Just as you were saying that, I was just watching Pep sat on the touchline with a hoodie on, drenched. You can't replicate this kind of thing. So
how do
the City fans feel about Arteta coming back, Asa.
Oh, oh Christ! What's De Bruyne done there? Oh, sorry. Jeez, De Bruyne giving the ball away at the edge of his own area. Yeah. Oh my God.
Well, lad.
Yeah, thanks. To be honest, he was always going to go at some point. Someone was going to snap him up. It was just disappointing mid-season. That's the only thing to me. He's been really good for Pep. I think the new balance of the coaching setup is going to be interesting when it actually is all finalised and everything. But you know what? He's been so good for the team. He was one person that took on Sterling as a personal project, and look where he's gone. If he can do half of that for Arsenal will be very happy.
Yeah, so far I'm impressed with his start he's had so far. Slow burning at the start, but yeah, he's really started to make an impact. You can definitely see where he's been trying to make improvements to the squad and team and the way that they play.
You can see the sort of how they're actually set up now. With if you look at it, the wide centre backs when they've got the ball, that's exactly what City do. So obviously he's obviously picked quite a lot up from Pep. And it's going to be interesting to see, obviously going into the second half as players get more tired, how they actually cope with the movement of City. Because at the moment, City haven't really done that much. They've had one or two good moves, but nothing major. City get over the ball.
Have you seen how high they're pressing, though? That is literally insane.
That's what City do.
They can't get out of that. The defenders are looking at them like, I don't know how I'm going to get out of my half here. Oh, look at this. Oh, that's a nice pass. I love De Bruyne.
Yeah, he's
class, isn't he?
If you look at the pressure bars on the screen, obviously City came out of the blocks absolutely flying in the green there, nice and high. Then Arsenal did have a little bit of a kind of a go back at them, and then it's kind of just balanced off now, and it's become a bit more of a balanced game at the moment. But you're right, City are just constant. That's the way they play, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a bank of three that are just they parked right in front of the Arsenal defence. They're just not letting them play out. They're almost static at that back four of Arsenal because they've got no movement at all because there's three of them ready to pounce at any 1 minute. I've forgotten how high City press. It's relentless.
It is quite scary. Tom Clark's made a very good point. Two Arsenal players gone down injured in the first 20 minutes, and one of them's not Tierney. Quite impressive.
Yeah, maybe he's used the 3 months to good use. I mean, I guess the most Premier League players, even if they're not training, they've got facilities at home to keep pretty fit, I'd imagine. Watching City players on Twitter, they've all got everything. They've got all the exercise bikes. They've got what do you call them? Running machines, whatever they're called.
Treadmills.
That's it, yeah.
To be fair, it's a running machine works. It works for me. We got you.
I thought he's about to come with some cross trainer or some step machine or something like that.
If you come down to London, we call them elliptical striders.
My God.
Oh, that was clearly a corner.
The voice of Des Duffy.
The first time we hear from him, he just pipes in with that ridiculous comment.
Oh, I can do a lot worse than that. I'll tell you what, guys, and obviously this is a pilot, and I'm hearing a little bit of squeaking. We've got a mouse in the audio system somewhere, so we'll focus on getting that right for the next time. But what is pleasing is we've had more people at peak at various points in this show than we've had on any of the APAT shows. So that's good.
Excellent. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Right, and what's different there? Oh yeah, Des isn't normally. yeah.
Hold on, I know what you've been doing.
Don't mess with BOOZE, 'cause that spells booze, and you're gonna lose with Mr. Booze.
You've been drinking again, haven't you?
How long have you been waiting to be able to push that one in, Des? It's just like, I've got it. I've found the opportunity.
Press the yellow button.
Since Michael Oliver made that silly decision in the earlier game, since about then.
Oh God.
It just come back.
I felt for Michael Oliver because really, what's he supposed to do? Because with Hawkeye, so with the ball, crossing the goal, we've become now so it's been so good. You don't argue it, and even if it's no, and you go, well, that must have been a goal. And then they show you, and they show how it was millimeters and it wasn't, exactly the same as they do with the tennis. It's such reliable technology. You just don't question it anymore. Whereas VAR, you do have still this thing of, oh, is it, isn't it? But with Hawkeye, you just don't question it.
No, I can't remember any other mistake with goal line technology since it came in. I genuinely was thinking this today.
And that was so obvious. I mean, I just, when you saw it, and he'd taken the ball behind the line, and actually he then pushed the ball back onto the post.
Shall we show it, guys? Shall we try?
Let's try it.
And so you kind of go, well, how could you not see it?
That's not it. Where are we?
Oh.
Good ball.
I'll see if I can find it and we'll show it.
This is exciting. The tension is...
I tell you what we do have. We have a picture. You just can't argue with that picture.
The pictures, yeah, the pictures.
He's literally pushed the ball onto the back of the post. So you kind of think, well, how can it be anything other than that?
Yeah, it's a goal.
Yeah, it's just a goal. It's quite interesting because a lot of people post-game have made what feels like quite a valid point where they said, well, surely Michael Oliver just has to give the goal and let VAR look at it. But I'm not sure in his position I would do that because, like you say, he's looking at he's pointing to his watch on the pitch and saying...
He's saying it doesn't... I know it might look like it, but he's saying you're relying on the technology because it's so good.
And when has he ever had cause to doubt it? Never. So nope. I think that's kind of harsh. And I'm not Michael Oliver's biggest fan. I will stress that. Actually, I'm not entirely sure there are any Premier League referees I am a fan of. But do you know what I mean? It's like I think he's in an impossible situation there. And I don't think it's fair for people to say, well, just give the goal and let VAR set it out. Because quite frankly, I think I've got more confidence in Hawkeye of actually making the decision and actually getting it right than I would do leaving it to VAR, who have been consistently poor and made wrong decisions throughout the entire season.
Well, I think you nicely summarised, Natalie, the statement from Hawkeye earlier on. But Jackie Oatley has posted on Twitter, in conclusion, Hawkeye made an extremely rare technological error, so rare that humans have put their total faith in its accuracy. But those humans made their own error by trusting Hawkeye not to make an error, and they should have overturned the decision. Hope that's clear. It's been so good that Michael Oliver didn't have the faith to sort of make his own decision, I guess.
I'm usually a big fan of Jackie Oakley. I'm not entirely sure that tweet makes an awful lot of sense. No offense, Jackie.
But I think in this situation, you got to try and have a look at the reactions of the players. The players will know if there's something untoward there.
Yeah, you're
if
right.
all the players are saying, that was a goal, that was a goal, that was a goal, I think just for a bit of pride, you've got VAR there, you can use it if you have to. It would have taken 10 seconds to look at that and say it was a goal.
Forgive me if I'm honestly, it's been that long since we looked at this and I'd almost got a little bit too scared and too distraught to actually say, oh, what a goal, shot. I'd almost kind of given up in trying to understand VAR, but I seem to recall somewhere in the season that VAR couldn't overrule goal or get involved in goal line technology because that was a different, there's two different technologies for different things. So I'm not sure VAR could look at it, could they? Maybe I'm wrong.
Well,
I
think
I can't remember the rule.
One of the things that I saw...
I remember they could look at all goal line incidents, so I think they'll come under a goal line incident.
Yeah.
I think the other point that I saw somebody write was that Michael Oliver could have awarded the goal, at which point VAR could then have either agreed with his decision or not.
Yeah. But I think that's the point we were saying before. I'm not entirely sure Michael Oliver can just let the goal stand there and let it go to VAR because of that very point we made. We're so reliant on goal line technology being so good and literally not ever making a mistake that he's going to put his mortgage on that technology being right. And I think he looks sillier as an official to give that goal and not trust. Because can you imagine if
good save.
Oh, that was a good save. Can you imagine if that was the right decision and it wasn't a goal?
Oh yeah.
and he then awards it, and then VAR makes some ridiculous call, his head's gonna be on the chopping block for saying, why on earth did you overrule goal line technology? I give absolutely zero blame to Michael Oliver. I think he's in an impossible situation.
So I think it's one of them situations where if he gives it, people would say he's in the wrong. People would say in this situation, if he gave the goal, people would say he did something absolutely fantastically incredible. But if it wasn't actually a goal and he gives it for them that kind of same reason, people would absolutely slay him for him. So I think no matter what the outcome of the actual goal was, he was always going to pick whatever was going to be the wrong option.
Yeah, but I think he's going to. I think let's just say he had made this incredible decision, and he had made, he'd given the goal, and VAR held it up, and it looked to be the right one. I still think he could expect to have some reprimand from that, because that does go against what the rules of the game, what his role is. And I think in that sense, he couldn't really argue if he'd have got a bit of rap on the knuckles and said, don't do that again. You've got the technology there to be relying on, and that's your job, even though the outcome was the right one. So I think on balance, he did the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. If you think back to, sorry to bring this one up, Des, but if you bring back to John Stones' goal line clearance against Liverpool, which is 6 millimeters or something like that.
Magnificent clearance.
And everyone's, Liverpool fans accept it because of how good Hawkeye's been.
Yeah,
completely.
Can you imagine the decisions if we didn't have Hawkeye?
Yeah, I mean, and when you think about Hawkeye, the technology, obviously, I don't know whether it was first used, but certainly, obviously, it was developed very much for tennis, where the ball is moving at much faster speeds.
Yeah, that's true.
And they, that it's so accurate. I mean, you just don't question it.
Yeah,
just got no reason to question it.
I think the frustration may be that VAR is there, ultimately the right decision should have been taken. And Tom Clark has, I think, said it very clearly in the chat box. VAR can award the goal as it's a clear and obvious error by the ref. So that's what's frustrating. Both bits of tech should be working together in that particular case.
Yeah, I think when it's so close to half time as well, Des, I think VAR can look at that. If what we're hearing is correct, and the goal line technology did ping at half time, they ping the watch at half time, and VAR can look at it, it's not like it was 5 minutes before the end of the game. It's it's at half time. Surely they can award that goal and say at half time they can come out and say, look, it was actually 1-0 where we were awarding the goal, and there's still, there's still plenty of time. And actually there was only about 5 minutes before the end of the first half, so Villa can't really come back and say, well, it's affected our play, or etc.
Yeah, completely.
City very much turning the screw here, aren't they?
I was just about to say that. Yes, I was just going to say, Jason, I'm sorry to break it to you, but City have really ramped up the tempo here.
And you can see it in the tracker on the screen for those of you watching the stream. The green bar is when it's City very much applying the pressure, and they're doing that. What you do tend to see is if you ever watch this with the tracker, it does often lead to goals.
Oh yes.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Amen, brother.
You start seeing that. Yeah.
It doesn't help that much ages behind player either. So I'm hearing like all these. Save. I think what's happened.
I think I'm watching. Jace, I think I'm watching it the same as you. So I've now learned to kind of not. I'm pretty much going with whatever Asa and Natalie are watching. When Asa says what a pass, it's normally about 20 seconds before I see that pass. So.
Yeah, I think me and Asa are on the same wavelengths because we seem to react at exactly the same time.
Are you guys watching on? Because I'm watching on a stream. So
I'm watching it on Sky on main event.
Yeah, So I'm on the main event, well. but I'm on now. So I'm on Now TV.
And I'm on.
Oh yeah, no, I'm
on Sky Go.
Sky.
Yeah, I'm on Sky Go as well.
So I'm on 38:18.
I'm on 38:59. 39.
My God.
Yeah.
38:20.
Yeah. Well, I'm on 38:30, so I'm in the middle of it. Then. Okay.
Yeah. So it looks like
when
you watch it directly from the Sky dish onto your TV, that's about as close as you get. And
yes.
Then obviously there's just a satellite delay as it feeds.
Hang on, so does that mean am I ahead of everybody then? Hang on, I'm on 38, 47, 48,
no,
49.
No, 41 now.
39.
39-23 we're on
Yeah.
now.
Exactly the same.
Guys, this is riveting listening to for our listeners. That's what you want. No, I'm not saying
That's how
that.
good. That's how good this football's been so far. Yeah.
But Leno's kept them in the game so far. 3 really good
Oh,
saves.
yes, definitely has.
3 really good saves.
Well, you only have to look if you look at the stats all round. I mean, the top 6 completed passing players at the moment are all City players. In fact, Arsenal have only got 2 in the top 10, and one of them is Leno.
Yeah.
So that kind of that pretty much says City are doing what City normally do, isn't it?
To me, I feel like Arsenal are looking a little frightened, Jason. They're looking a little bit like they're a bit scared to just come out and play. I don't know if that's fair. I don't know if you picked that.
It's tough because City are a very, very difficult team to play against. With them playing so high, they're just so good on the ball as well. Once they start to get going, it's going to be very hard to get that ball back and get your momentum going. It's been so far we've just been capitalising on errors from City at the back. If they continue, I think if we're playing this game 2 weeks down the line, some of them errors would have been punished. But with how it is now, I think it's not been the greatest Arsenal performance, but it's still a 0-0 at the minute.
So Jace, what's your take on the 3 that you're playing? Well, you're sort of playing up top. Is he chosen those players because you're away at City, and that's the reason why the likes of Lacazette and Pepe are on the bench?
To be honest, I don't really know. To be fair, I think it's a brave and bold move from Arteta. I think playing Pepe and Martinez would have been.
Well, yes, because Martinez as well, who actually before you forget we're 3 months away, and he was actually in. So Martinelli, was in really good form.
Oh, he was. He's actually on fire. So I would have put him out on the left, Pepe out on the right, and probably kept Willock where he is in the centre with no Ozil, and just
Kyle.
see how that would have done. But that'd be good impact subs to have in the second half when hopefully some City players will be feeling a bit tired from it. Having that sort of burst of pace coming at the end will be really beneficial.
You paid a lot of money for him.
Yeah, we did. We're not seeing the best of him by far yet, but I think he's struggling to settle in this season. He's had some moments of pure brilliance, but there have been few and far between. But hopefully, we're starting to see a bit more from him before lockdown, and hopefully he can pick that up again once he starts playing again. But he's definitely got so much potential there. I think he's definitely going to be one for next season. More, I think we'll start to see more from him.
How high this line is.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. That's a good free kick. Oh, that wasn't that far off, That was a very dangerous ball into that box there.
I really
Within about 20 seconds.
Yeah, I really expected Edison to come out for it. Where it was, that was considering if you look at him backpedaling, if he'd have come out for that, I reckon he'd have got there. It doesn't matter anyway. Passing the ball over our own box again.
Oh my days!
What's with the fan screens in the stands? I don't quite. Are they actually live? They're live
live
via
reactions.
Zoom or something, are they, or whatever?
Yeah. It's a Sky thing. I think they did it earlier on the Angela, and I think they've signed up. I think fans could apply to be on it, and then they'll play it because I think they were showing them in the footage as well. Like,
okay.
When the Sheffield United goal went in, the Sheffield United fans were all like cheering, and then they were like, "Wait."
So have they just taken a chunk of the seats out then, Asa, to be able to put those screens in? Yeah.
It looks like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's either that or they put it just in front of the bottom tier.
Okay.
Because City do have a little bit of room.
Seats out for it.
Yeah.
We're not that sophisticated at Turf Moor. We're putting cardboard cutouts in our seats.
Yeah, but you've got big screens at Turf Moor, haven't you?
We have 2.
Well, I mean, United and Liverpool. I think we're the only 2 Premier League grounds that don't have big screens.
Really?
You're well ahead of us.
It's crazy.
Nowhere to put them.
We do have a roof at Liverpool, though.
You have what? Sorry.
We have a roof.
No,
That's harsh. That's harsh.
nobody likes to show off.
Listen. We had Matt Piss on the APAT show last night, and he was talking about spending 25 quid to get a cardboard cutout at Elland Road, and he wanted
That's what
to
they're
go.
charging.
He wanted to go for Harold Shipman. There's a certain genius you've got to admit.
Yeah, but Leeds are charging £25 for their cardboard cutouts.
We're charging 25 as well.
Are you as well? What?
Yeah. But so are our.
That must be enough because I don't see anyone down south.
But they've got to charge 25 quid, don't they? Because the cardboard cutout isn't going to have a pint and a hot dog at half time, is it?
No, that's true. Although
at the Emirates, it'll be £65, but they'll be laminated. Yeah.
Hey, don't knock the Emirates. The Emirates is an awesome stadium. It's actually, I think it might be my favourite. Actually, I think the Emirates might be my favourite Premier League away ground. I love it. I think it's great. I just like it. I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, have you done the tour on that? Like?
No, I'm not really that interested. There's a non-Arsenal fan. Sorry, Jason.
That's fine. It's a great tour in all the areas we don't normally see.
I go down there when Burnley play, and I just I just like it. I think the infrastructure as well.
There are some stadiums that you'd want to talk. I mean, yeah, I've been lucky enough to go and see the new camp and the Bernabeu, and I'd love to go and have a check out around Tottenham's ground because I just think it
awesome.
just looks so impressive. And I did say on the APAT show, but anyone who hasn't seen the Richard Hammond kind of documentary on big engineering that's on Sky, try and find the episode with the Tottenham ground. It is brilliant.
Yeah, I might do that.
Really,
I went down at Christmas. It was a miserable day on the pitch for us, but the ground just
Yes!
Oh, it's a spoiler alert.
Sorry, guys, I have to go to the toilet. I'll just be gone if you want me.
That was pretty. That was a street strike.
It was a street strike, but it was a little bit unlucky as well. Raheem.
Let me just watch this replay again.
Replay.
Oh, that pass! Oh my days!
So it's gone down the right.
I think Louise has got to do better there. You know.
Yeah, Louise has got to do miles better, but yeah, from that position, Sterling
Oh
smashes
no!
it.
That's a harmless
Louise.
man.
Yeah, it's awful. I mean, you're told playing Sunday League football, just get rid of it in that position. Why are you letting it drop? What's going on?
So before
typical Arsenal defending.
Yeah.
Don't put any Arsenal defenders in your fantasy team.
Jace, what do you make? Yeah, what do you make of that? I mean, you just
that's just standard Arsenal crap, isn't it? With their defence.
Oh, that was brutal.
Oh dear.
That's just shocking.
But what's he even trying? What's he trying to do?
I don't know.
It looks like he's trying to control it on his thigh.
He's trying to control it on his thigh, isn't he? That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to control it on his thigh.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Sterling in that position, is basically foot through, and it doesn't really matter where it goes because it's so fast and close to the keeper that you just can't react. Not a chance.
To be fair, most Premier League strikers, aside from Norwich and Villa strikers, would probably punish you there. To be fair, so I think even Ashley Barnes would be able to score from
Well, you know what I said about those tracker bars? They tend to eventually, when the pressure's building, it normally leads to goal. Well, that's exactly what happens.
Oh, that doesn't look good. He's got his knee there.
Yeah, he's got back up. But before the game, the interview was why was David Luiz not starting? What all we should be is that a video of that going. That's the reason.
No explanation.
That's why we don't have a Mustafi playing as well.
Yeah.
But you said you had him on a year's contract, Jace. Is he being renewed or is he?
Well, based on that, I've been not.
And I get the feeling I've just seen the incident that you've got. It's kind of Arsenal seem to have lost their heads a little bit for
they are.
Luckily it's coming up to half time. So
the half time
is
somewhere we are.
It's got a bit of a hothead on him. I kind of like that playing, to be fair.
I know.
Well, young player.
Quick weather update for our listeners. You know, we like to be diverse on the show. Give you bits of everything. The Manchester City Storm has just arrived at Bromley HQ. So if we get interrupted by some large thunderstorms. You know why?
Wow.
And here in Manchester, it's bright blue skies.
Yes, it's left you and it's headed to north of Manchester, about 50 miles out where I am currently parked. And it's
Well, I can confirm it is still beautiful sunny evening here in Dorset. Yeah, it's lovely.
And here in London, guys, I can see people out my back window, and they are striding forth elliptically.
bloody Southerners.
So do we
Oh,
do
it's
we
half time.
see-
Okay.
Yeah, do we
It's
see
half-time.
any way back here for Arsenal after that 45 minutes?
Well, I think it seems has to put rocket up him at half time.
Yeah, it does.
They've not done nothing really. I think definitely need to change the attacking midfield options. I think what we got there just isn't working. I think definitely bring on Martinelli if
So
anyone.
the situation is now it's 5 substitutes and you're allowed to do them in 3 goes. Is that pretty much it?
Yes.
If not for injuries, except for injuries.
Except for injuries, right?
It's
okay,
got to be, because otherwise now Arsenal have got to use all 3 in one go.
Right. So if it's but could you not feign an injury to then kind of make that?
Absolutely.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Do that.
Yeah, that doesn't feel a completely black and white rule. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Somebody's not thought this through.
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
quite easy to make the three changes
when
now.
you said it, Asa, I thought, oh well, no, that makes a lot of sense, and then straight away I went, nah, that doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether it might have been 3. It might have actually been 3 per half, maybe actually, which would cover off injuries in the first half. Then I think maybe that was actually what it was. So I'm sure in the first game they said there'd be no subs. So basically they've now got 5 subs each, but they have to do them in 3 batches maximum. So I think that's probably. So you've got 3 more substitutions then, Jay. So what are you thinking? You're thinking changing that front line and trying to actually get City on the back foot a little bit, yeah?
Oh, yeah, I'd take off Enteke. I don't think he's done much this half, so definitely get him off, get either Pepe or Martinelli on, and see if that makes a difference. So having a look at the bench, who else could we look at bringing on? Lacazette's a tough one because Aubameyang plays best up front, I find. Putting him out on the left, if you bring on Martinelli, if you bring on Pepe and Lacazette, put Aubameyang out on the left, Pepe out on the right, put Willock behind him, I think that could potentially do something and give a bit of life to that team, because at the minute they're just playing like they've not even woken up today.
Yeah. I mean, the difficulty is we've got the stats up here for half time, and it's 65% ball possession for City, 35 for us. So the difficulty is you don't get much of the ball when you're playing City, so you need to have the players that when you are going to get the ball, you're actually able to try and create something and actually hurt the opposition. Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. And with the mistakes they have made in front of goal at the minute, we've been through twice now, and they've just not done enough with it. So you need something more there, and right now they're just lacking.
Yeah, and Asa, from a City point of view, first half, I mean, happy with that, I guess.
Happy enough. We did start well. We've certainly got more into the normal structure that we put about the games that we normally do. We've just got to keep knocking the goals in, I think. Get the second goal, kill the game, bring a few subs on. Nice and straightforward.
Okay.
Look at that. That is
Make an equaliser, make it fun.
Or annoy us.
Shall we?
So Scouse is on the chat and just said, Louise, always good for a goal, just never know which end.
It's absolutely true. Shall I give you some feedback from Twitter, guys? So Dan Thompson says, for those saying we should keep David Luiz, there's your answer. I thought he was doing okay until then. Wasn't even a good pass by De Bruyne. So a bit of abuse coming in there for. I can see the goal.
That was a great pass from De Bruyne. What's he on about?
Great bit of business there. Get rid of that.
That's not the goal. Yeah, but De Bruyne it's his Louise, it's his unpredictability, right? Daniel Friday Danzer banter goes sweet for this VNO. How strange. Sterling scores for Man City. David Luiz appears to be the culprit. Ian Howard, some things never change, and I think some fans were getting worked up at David Luiz leaving at the end of the season. Killian, David Luiz, high skill, top defensive player, Brazilian maestro, legend, and we get a picture of this guy. I'm not sure that's David Luiz. You guys will see this in 10 or 15 seconds. Yeah, David Luiz getting quite a lot of stick, it has to be said. City are starting to find their rhythm again. Can't give them mistakes like that. They will take those and run all over you. And to be honest, the stats are suggesting that City are beginning to take over. It's hard to see where Arsenal are coming back in the second half, to be honest.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, something needs to change big time for Arsenal to have any chance in this game.
Yeah,
I'm calling out that tweeter who says that's not a very good Kevin De Bruyne pass.
It clearly was.
What's he on about?
I guess,
pass.
I wonder was Louise caught in two minds as to how to deal with that, because, obviously his calf went up and his back went back, which they don't seem to work ideally.
You're being very kind.
The trouble is actually at that point when the ball's when the pass is being made, the problem is Louise, he's actually too high up the pitch. He should see that pass coming in, and if he'd have dropped back another 5 yards or whatever, actually he'd have been able to deal with that. But actually he was caught in this no man's land of what do I do? Do I go and try and and clear it straight away? And actually I think it just bounce or just came down at the wrong angle for him, and he's in an impossible situation. But he's put himself in that situation. So
he has indeed. Okay, we'll see if we can show that goal, guys. Here it's coming now. So if you haven't seen it, if you're not watching the game on telly, we'll take a chance. We might lose the stream at this point, but we'll see.
A little bit short, but he was in complete control of that situation. Popping the ball through.
Here's this pass.
Arsenal players' legs. It's bounced awkwardly off Luiz. Here's Sterling, 1-0.
1-0.
First goal of Project Restarts, and it's the first in 13 games in all competitions for Raheem.
Wow. Well, in fairness, Louise seemed to have a little bit of time to deal with that.
I think he just got himself. Came towards it.
But I think part of the issue here is the fact that and you guys discussed it earlier, is that the players haven't had what you would call an adequate preseason, and generally after a 2.5 month break, you have a preseason. They look a little rusty, and I think they found that in the Bundesliga, that the first 2 or 3 games, players and teams looked rusty, even Bayern Munich. But then it all sort of clicked in, and the quality came back. Whether the match fitness is there to be determined, but they look rusty.
I think the reality of this is that we know, the title's Liverpool's, and ultimately, yes, there are top 4 to play for, and European places and relegation. This just does feel like it's just a case of just getting through the matches, getting it over with, and what will be, and then we'll start again with next season when when we know whenever that's going to be.
Yeah, and
the question for Des is, how do you think Liverpool will come back after this break? Do you think you still have the form that you had leading into it, or do you think the break would have hampered that?
It's an apples and apples situation, so I think they might not come back at their best, but they're likely to be playing teams who aren't at their best either. They looked sharp. They played a friendly with Blackburn last weekend and scored quite a few goals. So I'd expect them to get it done, but will they look great? No, I doubt it. I doubt any team will look great in the first couple of weeks.
Oh, that's interesting. So Scouse has just said in the chat. Don't know if we mentioned, we haven't mentioned it, but apparently Arsenal only flew out of London at 5 o'clock.
Really?
No, not possible. Not possible.
Really?
So they landed in Manchester at 6.
Yeah, probably about 6.
I think it's
and straight to but they're only going straight to the ground because they can't do anything else. Because the protocols are that you can't do anything else.
But 5 o'clock.
Imagine
it'll be a chartered flight. There's not many flights going on, so it's not as if they've got any issues with that. And it could just be a case of bang straight up. Because where else do they hang around? They can't. You can't go to a hotel pre-game or anything like that. So I mean that could well be not far off the mark.
That's quicker than it takes United normally to get from their hotel 5 minutes from the ground, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yes, it's
impressive.
Jose used to just walk because
he did.
Yeah, which is crazy. They used to stay over at Salford Quays, and Acer will explain better than I I possibly could, but it's not an easy journey to get from there round to Old
No,
Trafford.
it really is.
Oh, absolutely. Literally, you can from South Keys, you can see United's ground quite easily and quite clearly.
So but you can walk it quicker than you can drive it on a match day.
It's a 10-minute walk max.
Yeah.
So, guys, two matches coming up on Friday. 6 o'clock kickoff is Norwich against Southampton. The big match of the evening, 8:15, is Spurs at home to United. Very quick preview. What do we think might happen there from what we've seen today so far?
Well, absolutely nothing in the first game will happen.
Yeah,
Absolutely nothing.
not a Pookie hat trick then. No.
No. I predict dullness.
The thing is, having watched this now, I could predict dullness for the second game as well. It does feel like we might be a little bit of just easing back into this.
I think it'll be an interesting time for United to play Spurs, because I think with Harry Kane back and Son back, and it might not be a great time to play them on that Friday evening. I have to say, I think United look sharp. They certainly looked sharp prior to the break, but I'm not sure I'd fancy playing Tottenham.
Yeah, but we were looking. We didn't. I mean, the break came at a bad time for us, really. Apart from it's meant that we've got Rashford back,
yes.
which was a major loss for us, because he was absolutely flying, and Martial has never really kind of stepped up when it's needed.
No.
He needed to with that. So, but for us, obviously, with Fernandes just absolutely on fire and just clicking, we were looking great. Obviously, Pogba is back now as well. We don't know what Pogba we're going to get, but ultimately we're going to have a Pogba, and if we can get the right one, and it could just be that actually he's looking at that team now and going, well, actually, this is now a team I want to be part of. Whereas I think before he was feeling, well, I'm by far supposedly the best player here. What am I doing? No one else is pulling their weight. It could be that he looks at it now and goes, well, actually, I want to be in this team.
Well, I tell you, it's a very important match for United in particular, given that Sheffield United have obviously dropped points today, and it now looks likely that Arsenal will, and either of those are a threat to United for a European place. So, just to keep that momentum going, you wouldn't necessarily want to go there and drop points. I just think it'll be a tough game for United.
Yeah, Kai reckons United 2-0. Said Rashford and Pogba back. Yeah, quite possibly. But I think we're going to see a lot of what we've watched so far today.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's going to be very cagey to start with from all the teams. I think over the weekend, the teams that will have an advantage over the others are the teams that played today. So they'll have that one extra game.
Game in their legs.
The
Yeah, it's a good point.
Oh, great. Well, we've got to play City away on Monday, so that's filling me with a great amount of confidence.
Awesome.
And we always just fall to a ridiculous score at the Etihad. It's very
What
weird.
do you think? So let me ask you, Natalie, first. What do you think, though, with obviously no fans in the stadium? Does home and away matter now or not?
And I think there is an element of it, because I think if we were playing at neutral venues, then no. I think there's always going to be a slight advantage, because your match day routine is the same. It's your pitch that you know inside out. It's your own changing room. There's a familiarity with being at home, which will make it a more comfortable prep for the game. So I think from that perspective, there will be a slight advantage, as we've literally just talked about. With Arsenal having to fly up from London at 5 o'clock, they've obviously rushed into the game, and it wouldn't surprise me if that unusual prep has affected their ability to start this game sharply. But then you take away the fans, and that's makes a huge difference, I think. So I think there will be a loss of some home advantage, but not a complete loss.
Yeah,
It'd be interesting, and obviously we're building up to Sunday's game, the Liverpool Merseyside derby, which will be very weird, Des, won't it?
It will, but it'll just be nice to get it back. Do you know? It'll just be nice to get it back, and I'm not betting my house that Liverpool will win that. I think it'll still be a tough game, because I think Everton were actually showing some form through Ancelotti and his team prior to the break. Arguably, Liverpool were quite the opposite, having lost 3 out of 4 matches prior to the break. So the break might not have done Liverpool any harm, refreshed, get the Atletico Madrid game out of their system, the Watford loss, the exit in the FA Cup at Chelsea. The break might have done Liverpool a bit of good. But, a point there and a win at Chelsea might, a win at home to Crystal Palace might be enough to do it. If not, we'd have to go to City and of course, that'd be a wonderful place to win it if we were fortunate enough to do so.
Yeah. Asa, do you think we're going to see Foden second half?
I hope so. From what I'm hearing, because he's on the bench, obviously, from breaking because he was pictured breaking lockdown rules. Not much was made of it. The rumour is that he's going to be put on the bench for a couple of games to think about it.
Okay.
But I'd quite like to see it, but I can't say he was the one I really want to see, because him and Laporte will be our back two next season. It has to be.
Is Garcia in the 23, Asa?
He's playing.
Is he?
Yep.
Oh, I don't know, mate.
Yeah, number.
I'm working
number
the
50.
dials.
Number 50 days.
And how is he playing? I mean, shall we bring him up? I tell you what, let me tell you how he's playing. If I go to lineups.
So we're back underway. So just for anyone that's wondering, although I'm sure Asa and Natalie are still going to be watching this about 20 seconds ahead of Jason and I, but that's fine.
Yeah, is it not 3-0 where you are, no? Sorry.
God. It feels like the game hasn't started where I am. I didn't even know Garcia was playing. So he's at 33 touches, 29 accurate passes, 93%, one long. So, yeah, it seems like a sissy player.
Yeah, he had a bit of a wobble at the start. Back control.
Oh, somebody's dropped the pots and pans.
No. Definitely not in my house.
I was going to say, is that Adam Bromley? Just drunk on his success from last weekend still.
No, we don't use the oven. I throw shoes in my oven. There's certainly no pots and pans.
I reckon it's Joe bringing Jason his half-time cup of tea.
I shouldn't have thought so.
It's not.
Oh, it's all...
Excellent.
Fantastic. You don't get this on BT Sports, I'm telling you.
I tell you, you don't. This is great.
Oh, what a
It's
ball.
quite an interesting point you said about Everton, just picking up on that before, Des. I think from a managerial perspective, there are a couple of sides this season that have finally got it right with their managers, and Everton being the obvious one. I thought Silva was an absolutely awful appointment for Everton of a manager, but they seem to have got it right now, and I think we're going to see the Everton of old coming back for the next couple of seasons. I think we're going to actually see them starting to push again and play some good stuff.
I saw a table a couple of days ago which was built on team points that should have been, if you like. Yeah. And I can't remember who was top. Possibly City. I can't recall. It certainly wasn't Liverpool, but Everton were like in the top 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they've leaked a lot of points late or they've missed huge opportunities, but they're probably underperforming their form at the moment. Yeah. There's more to come there.
There's definitely more, and of course that links us into Jason. I also thought they got it really, really wrong with Unai Emery as well. I just didn't think he really settled, and it does feel like Arsenal have also made now a good managerial appointment, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely now. I don't think it would have been right 18 months ago when Emery came in. I don't think Arteta was quite ready at that point. And even when Arteta got the job this time around, I was very hesitant at first because he's not had a big manager job for his first one.
Yeah, it is. And it was as well. It was an absolute sitter.
And the annoyance from before was getting my King's bus by Ace Jack.
Sorry, what sport is that, Asa?
Runner for a strike.
Don't worry, so I just busted squads with Ace King v Ace Queen.
Is that David Luiz who's giving that penalty?
Yeah,
oh my God, what the hell is that? It's
I don't think I want to see this.
Yep.
Oh, you absolute he's having a shocker.
I was just about to say that.
I haven't got there yet. Oh, here we go.
There we go.
One of the stats on.
He's off.
Oh, he is off.
Really?
Yep, he's been sent off.
Wow.
Yeah, so one of the stats I've just seen is that no player has recorded more errors leading to goals in the Premier League in 2020 than David Luiz, and it was at 2, and I'm pretty sure you could potentially add a third one to that, because that's
shocking. Hang on a minute. Just somebody remind me. I thought that the rule on penalty to change is you either get a penalty or a red card, or is it some weird thing that if you are denying them a clear goal and scoring opportunity, you get the red
I don't
card?
think that's not clear goals.
No,
And
it's
actually,
not.
to be honest, he actually puts his hand on him outside the box.
2-0.
2-0. What a cool penalty.
Yeah.
Well, I can't remember. I'm going to Google this very quickly. Honestly, I'm so rusty with what the rules were. I've been very lazy this summer.
Do you not think he actually lays? Do you not think he grabs him back outside the box?
It doesn't matter, because if the player didn't go down, ultimately he most impacted him in the box.
Yeah.
Ran across him as well, which is awkward, very awkward. The whole thing was awkward. Shouldn't have put
What's the answer, Natalie? What's the answer?
So, players who commit a foul to deny a goal scoring opportunity will no longer automatically be sent off. The previous triple punishment rule required a red card and therefore suspension, as well as a penalty under those circumstances. Right, so if it's an accidental foul that denies a goal scoring opportunity, it's just a caution and a penalty. But if it's a deliberate foul, you still get the red card. So because he deliberately pulled him to the ground, you got the red card. I knew there was something I couldn't quite remember. I am rusty on the rules. I can't remember half.
So I put a post up earlier on, and we were talking about fantasy football teams, and Kai posted up. So we both have selected Aguero and De Bruyne, and we're umming and ahhing who was going to have who were you going to put as captain? Obviously, with City playing twice, and Kai said I think he ended up doing a coin flip and picked De Bruyne. Well, it sounds like he's got it right. I picked Aguero, but clearly I've got that very badly wrong.
I think De Bruyne's had a really good game. Really good game. It's been a bit in and out for the past 12 months in terms of his sparkling form that we used to see.
Yeah.
I think it's been
So Tom Clark says, if you don't make a genuine attempt to play the ball, it's a pen and a red card. And to be honest, he didn't make an attempt. He did not make an attempt for the ball at all.
No, he didn't at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Bit of a lunge there from Sterling, really, a bit unnecessary.
And the assist for the penalty? No, it wasn't. No, that was a pass from earlier from Edison.
So
I thought it was a...
Three City players, guys, are showing as being the top three players in the game. So Gundogan in centre midfield at 7, De Bruyne at 8.3, and Sterling at 7.5. So both of them are on the left hand side of the City attack, of course, and they're just causing havoc for Arsenal.
Yeah, they are completely. Arsenal, they need to change something now. If they have any chance of getting back into this, now's the time to make them changes. He's got nothing to lose now. Down to 10, 2-0 down.
And possibly a third injury.
Dirty City.
He got the ball. He slipped and still got the ball.
And the player.
Yeah, afterwards. But he slipped. Well, that just a measure of what Natalie was saying first half, that City pressing, that was on the goal line. It's incredible pressing.
Yeah, it was.
So Kai just said in the chat box, yes, trust the coin. Yeah, he literally flipped a coin for which one of them was going to be his captain for this week, and it worked for him.
Yeah, there's a lot of negativity on Twitter, as you can imagine, towards Louise at the moment. So Sean Goodman says, bet Arteta is currently wishing he'd furloughed David Luiz. oh dear. It's a joke. James McGann says David Luiz really is something else. How that man is a pro footballer is absolute banter. John Craddock says red card for Sideshow Bob. Yeah, at this point I think David Luiz is doing this on purpose. I don't think so, but it's hard maybe to not think that.
I suppose Chelsea are paying off his wages still.
Yeah, Arsenal are going
the
to
problem
end
is
up...
the problem is you've got 35 minutes to go here. Arsenal down to 10 men have not really done anything here, and I mean you could see City really turning this on and making it quite an embarrassing scoreline, couldn't you?
Listen, Tony Rawle thinks Arsenal are doing an impressive thing. He says Arsenal are going to end up with 6 players at this rate. That's an incredible contribution to social distancing. Oh dear.
I like it. I've missed football humour.
I know some of the banter out there is great.
How they're playing on the pitch, I think they're keeping to social distancing.
Very good. It is. I've just had a message flash up on my screen from one of my own team that's just literally just said with a big frowny face saying, we're going to get battered on Monday night. I don't want to play. Can we not play, please? It's going to be horrible.
The trouble is, if City can actually get a bit of momentum up early on in these fixtures, obviously it's doing them the world of good for whenever the Champions League comes back
August the 7th.
Yeah, is that that's
August
it?
the
So,
7th. It
Yeah,
starts.
they're not.
yeah, I mean,
they're not
from
calling it.
Liverpool's- yeah,
They're not
from
calling it the
Liverpool's
Champions
point of
League, though, guys.
Are they not?
No,
What is
no,
it
it's
now?
got an asterisk on it now. It's the Audi Cup.
Yeah. So, but I was going to say, from Liverpool's point of view, once the title's won, which is going to happen in the next, 2, 3, 4 games, whatever it's going to be, Liverpool are just going to see out the season, and it could put you in a very nice position for when next season starts, because
Should do.
you can properly rest up.
Yeah, I think what you'll see is and I think, Klopp and his team are very good at this. I think they will have a very, long and sensible pre-season, and they'll give a lot of the young lads experience. And, that's the way I'd see it going. So they may very well forego the points record, fair enough. But I think it could set them up well for next season.
Yeah.
Just thinking about next season, I'm not sure anything's been decided yet. Obviously, the Premier League's going to finish at the end of July. Normally, the season starts towards the end of August, normally. So
Middle of August normally, middle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
so
on the 13th.
what's happening with it is obviously teams are normally preparing to go on their pre-season tours July time to really ramp up their pre-season in August. So what do you think teams are going to do now? 'Cause
Well, you're
obviously
watching
they're
it.
going to be playing at the end of that.
Yeah, you're
This is
watching
it.
it, Jason. This
Yeah.
is pre-season.
Yeah, I think it will be. And plus, as well, with the travel restrictions across the world and everything that's going on, teams will not have the opportunity to go out to warm weather, to do tours, or to do anything like that. So, they will stay. I suspect that they'll.
And unless anything major happens, they are not going to push the Euros back any further than they have done.
Oh no.
No.
So ultimately, the Euros are happening are going to happen next summer, which means leagues are going to have to get things finished.
Yeah.
They're going to have to get things finished.
I guess you also have to look at towards the end of next season. You're going to have player fatigue playing the park. It's always been playing up until the end of July with no break.
You
There
may
goes down to
you may
14.
find that teams are given the option of whether do they play the League Cup where they they can comfortably just play play their reserve team, but of course that benefits bigger clubs again, which brings the whole thing of, well, what's the point in having the competition if it's not going to be kind of level? I don't, but ultimately something feels like it's going to have to give.
You basically like City have done the last 3 seasons.
Yeah.
and one quick one, Des. If obviously this is normally the Barkish Premier League, does it become the Bank of Ireland Premier League?
The Bank of Ireland Premier League.
No.
I don't get it.
The asterisks.
Oh, the asterisk. Oh, yeah. Oh, it doesn't
Not
matter.
quite
Oh,
the
we'll
same-
take.
not quite the same
We will
level.
take the Bank of Ireland Premier League. Not a problem. We will take that off your hands, young man.
Got to say, City are playing an absolute cat and mouse with Arsenal right now. They are toying with them. It's just painful.
Well, I think we
Yeah.
need to applaud
Jason,
Arsenal
you must
for their
be-
adherence to social distancing rules. Right now.
Yeah. Jason, this must be really uncomfortable for you to be watching.
To be fair, it's not unexpected. To be fair, it's I would say a typical Arsenal display against a better team. Going probably as expected right now.
If the thing is, if anything, actually, Louise will have turned obviously the attention will turn to him for the reason why you're 2 down. But actually, the rest of the team haven't exactly
No.
set the game alight, have they, or done anything to
No, they haven't.
impress?
They've not had a
Being the
standout
cause
player.
of the both goals, I think that all the attention should be on him because he's the sole reason of why they've actually scored 2 in this game so far. If he's not made them stupid mistakes,
Yeah.
would we be looking at this result? Probably not. I think we're still looking at 0-0.
The second half
balance the thing.
statistics. Second half statistics, guys. Spurs. City have 80% of the ball. They've had 127 passes to Arsenal's 29. 95% accuracy. It's
I'm going to say, I'm amazed Arsenal's that high.
Have 28 of them.
it's a training game now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
28 of them touches been to Leno dead.
Patrick Leonard just wrote on Twitter, I'm surprised that Pep hasn't called 5 subs off the bench and just put him into play to, get fitness into other players' legs. It's a good call.
That's Monday's game.
Hey, less of it.
You said about Arsenal as well. It's like, why is Arteta not look to change things up at the mix? Also, what he's doing now isn't working in the slightest.
Yeah.
Can't get anywhere near City right now.
But you, Jason, what you just said, you're right. There is now one Arsenal player in the top 10 completed passes players, and they're in 10th place, and it is Leno. So your goalkeeper has completed more passes than anybody else on your team.
That don't surprise me right now.
Oh dear.
It's painful watching.
You'll get a good laugh in a second from Raheem Sterling's left foot.
I think it's a long time I've had the ball all game. Well, we've lost.
Jason, I've got an obscure Arsenal fact for you, which, judging by this at the moment, I'm not entirely sure how long they're going to keep hold of this record for. But did you know that Arsenal are the only team still in existence that has never been relegated?
Wow.
Well, yeah, there's some controversy around that.
Oh, is there? Oh, do
yeah,
tell.
there is. I think Arsenal should have been relegated back around the war era time, but there's some political movements done around at the time, and Tottenham went out instead of Arsenal.
Oh, what beautiful poetry that is.
Oh, is it any wonder they hate you? My God.
Well, there you go.
Pathetic.
My God.
Is that so? That stat though, is that just in this country? Is that this country or worldwide? Or
I'm presuming it's this country.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't imagine it's worldwide, but yes, the only team in existence in English football that has never been relegated.
Well, when the mighty Bill Shankly joined Liverpool in the late 50s, I think it was, or very early 60s, we were in the second division. So, yeah, wow. What did you guys hear that terrible news about Willie Thorne? I don't know if you're snooker fans, but sadly, Willie Thorne passed away today, age of 66.
Oh, no.
Yeah, really, that's quite a shame. He was a lovely bloke. Serious gambling problems, but a lovely bloke.
Yeah, it was.
What a shame.
Leukemia, I believe.
Was it leukemia? Yeah.
That's what I saw, yeah.
The detail. Just another headline that I'm reading here. Ryan Fraser confirms he will be leaving Bournemouth.
Yeah, I saw that earlier on today. Well, he basically said he wasn't going to do the short-term extension.
Yeah, I don't agree with that myself. I think you can't go anywhere else at the end, at the minute, 'cause no one else is going to be interested in. So I think players should take that short-term extension to the end of the season. It's 1 month.
Yeah,
I don't know why you wouldn't do that for a month.
So do we think a player like that comes out with that type of statement because A, he's got a contract lined up, or B, because he wants to just advertise and confirm that he's on the market?
Could potentially either or. You know, I don't think it's.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's a distinction
Could
there.
be either.
But I mentioned this on the show the other last week. I'm not sure what the situation is with the transfer window. Because technically, 1st of July, so we're 2 weeks away. The teams are still going to be playing, but is there a situation where you can sign a player? So obviously, Chelsea have been rumored to be, signing Timo Werner.
Yeah.
So, how does that work? Can they sign him and play him now, or is there?
No, it's been moved.
Yeah, he scored another goal tonight. See if we can dig it out. I'd love to do that.
Yeah, but I know there's yeah, I mean, I don't know what the legality of the situation of is it because the season hasn't finished and technically they're going to be able to, they'll hold back the closed season until this season finishes, but then you've got Champions League games that are going to happen later. So
they are looking to do it all. I think I've seen this. I know that they're going to. Let me see if I can find the article.
They're going to Portugal for the Champions League, aren't they? Doing an 8-team knockout tournament, aren't they?
Yeah, but so what do? You therefore say, well, teams can't sign new players and play them in that they can sign them, but they can't play them until the start of the next season, or what?
Let me see if I can find it. I know that the plan is that it's not going to close until the start of October. So I think it's going to get pushed to the end of September is the closing of it, but I just don't know when it's going to happen. To start again. Let's have a look.
Let me play this. Werner.
Simon Lawler's asked the question,
here we are.
Salford City have never been relegated in the league? Question mark. Yeah, wasn't sure.
Oh,
they've just joined, haven't they?
They were a team before they were Salford City, so that's got to be wrong. They've certainly changed owners, but they've been around for years.
So they
They're
will have
not-
been
they're not
relegated.
really
They will have been
incorporated.
relegated at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fine.
Phil
The,
Foden.
the official line on the transfer window, Youngly,
Yep.
they said top flight chief executive Richard Masters has confirmed the window will not open until the season ends on July the 26th.
There you go. Good.
But there is currently no official dates announced for when the window will open and close again. So it looks like it's going to open on the 27th, but there is
But then,
no
that'll
date.
be interesting for those teams that are still in Europe. Then I'm assuming UEFA will turn around and say anyone you sign isn't eligible for this year's.
Yeah, correct.
You have to register your squad for the Champions League.
Correct.
And
Second
Europa League
phase is
anyway,
second
Yeah.
phase.
So that would then cover all that off quite nicely, wouldn't it? Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is
gotta register
the
what,
this
twice
is
a
the
season?
Werner goal, guys. I'll just play it, and you'll see it in 20 seconds or so. But just to show it, he'll be quite an acquisition for Chelsea if they have in fact got him.
Well, he's been rumoured at a few different clubs, but Chelsea seem to be. It seems a strong rumour now.
Yes. Great finish. Just edge of the box, top right-hand corner of the net. No messing in there.
I'm surprised the money that they're talking about for him seems a steal.
Well,
European players are just so much cheaper than English players, though, aren't they?
yeah.
Ridiculous.
So as you said, Asa, so Foden's on the pitch. I've not seen loads of him. I mean, talk us through your view on him and how he will fit into the City team and maybe an England team for the future.
To me, he is a very, very young David Silva. That's how simple it is. He's got the same sort of touch on the ball. He's probably a better finisher than David is, but he just needs to be in that area of the pitch where David Silva plays. He finds space, he creates chances, and he keeps hold of the ball. What more do you want in the Premier League?
And definitely think he can do it. Yeah, no reason why it can't get to the top of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. If someone like Pep Guardiola says this is the best player I've seen at his age ever,
How old is he?
he's 19 now, I think,
wow.
18 or 19.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
And he said that when he was 16 years old.
Wow.
And he had him training with the first team within, I think, 2 weeks of him coming to the club.
Goodness.
Yeah.
So 3 years he's already been training with David Silva, De Bruyne, learning every single day. Yes, he's still got that little bit of experience to go, which he could have got more elsewhere. But
I mean, that's the problem, Ace, isn't it? He's played.
yeah,
He started 3 games this season. He's played a total of 14. He's had 26 minutes per game that he's played. It's just they're not investing in his development, which seems bizarre, given the talk about him.
true. It is a tricky one. I look at it this way. It's another season he's learned from David Silva. It's another season he's learned from Kevin De Bruyne, training every single day. Yes, game situations are slightly different, and that's where the experience is going to come from. But the amount he's going to have gained and the knowledge he's gained from those guys, he's going to be a superstar. There's no doubt in my mind.
See, we had a similar situation with we took two City players from you who were in the same situation. Ben Mee, who played at centre half at Burnley, and Kieran Trippier, our ex right back, who obviously then went to Spurs and fell out of favour there. Both of them were City Academy players, and they were training and they were doing exactly the same as Foden. He was training with the best all the time, but they were just not getting game time, and they were never going to get game time. No. So he sent them out on loan to Burnley, and I think within 3 weeks of being at Burnley, both of them jointly said, they were in the same academy school were Trippier and me. They both said, look, we love City, we're very grateful, we're never going to break into the first team, so will you sell us? And City, to their credit, sold both of them to us for a really good deal. I think we got them both. I think we got them for about 300,000 each. And look at the career that they've now had. Ben Mee's been at Burnley ever since. Trippier.
They could put Jadon Sancho in that as well. He left City's academy program and go to Tottenham, and look what he's done.
There is a lot of rumour about Jadon Sancho though, about how he didn't fit in properly.
Asa, just given that we're piloting and testing stuff, what type of device are you on? Are you on a phone or a laptop?
Yeah, iPhone.
So is it close to your laptop that you're watching the game on?
No.
I wonder. Just, so guys, just separate your devices just in case we're getting interference in that respect. Now, I'm saying that I've got about 9 devices. There's only so much social distancing you can do.
Exactly. Yeah. So Jace, tell me, Arsenal have obviously made a bunch of changes now. So they brought on Nelson, and they brought on Maitland-Niles, and they brought on Lacazette.
Yeah.
I mean, do we think, is that going to make any difference, or is it just fresh legs, do you think?
I think it's just fresh legs now. I don't think it's going to make a world of difference. I think if you want to try and make a difference, you bring Martinelli as well with that. With bringing them on, I think he's just trying to hold on to what he's got potentially. Put Lacazette up front, put Aubameyang out wide.
And what's he got? He's got one more substitution left, doesn't he? So potentially he could do that. Yeah.
Potentially, yeah. I imagine we'll see Martinelli before the end at some point.
Yeah, this is definitely about getting players' fitness and getting some running in the legs at the moment for Arsenal now, isn't it?
I think what will be telling is actually.
Oh, what a pass!
The team is on Saturday against Brighton.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you carry on. Carry on.
Jason and I just go quiet, going, well, is it?
And man to
You had us all spellbound.
Whether he's just going to literally end the call now and just go, enough's enough. I can't take any more of this.
Yeah, there's definitely flaw in the technology of everybody being on different times in this.
Well, we've got to investigate it for next time out, Lee, but Hot Mic is the tech that a lot of football fans are using now because it sort of aligns everybody's streams. So maybe we'll have a look at that. Oh, gosh. Yeah, I mean, I'm probably about a minute or 2 behind you guys, which is bad.
Yeah, I thought I was going to go in there. But
Lee,
again, the Arsenal defenders just standing back. Nobody was putting a tackle in.
Look at that pressure bar.
They're not closing down. There's no pressure on any Man City players.
No, there isn't.
They're standing so far off.
Yeah, if you look at the second half pressure bars on the screen now, guy, there's no blue there at all. There's just no blue at all.
It really isn't. Oh God, Jason, don't look at that.
It does make you kind of go where there are actually 2 teams on the pitch.
Absolutely.
Because,
ironically, if you look at that graphic over the last 40 minutes, it's actually shaping out to be David Luiz's hairstyle.
I've got to say, quite an interesting point as well, Jason. I'm not entirely sure Arteta's filled me with confidence tonight either. His whole demeanour on the side, and he just, I don't know. He seems to have been quite flat himself. There's not been a lot of energy from him.
But do you not think so? So he was one of the early people that obviously caught the disease. So.
Forgotten that.
And you don't quite know, I guess, exactly how much it affects people. And
you're right.
I mean, I'm very fortunate down here in that, I don't really know anybody that's kind of had it. And other than, we've had conversations with different people on the show over the past 10 weeks that have been affected by it. And obviously you do feel it from there. But I guess unless you've actually, something you've probably been through, I don't know whether it does affect you, and you just, a situation, you just want to get this season over with now and
quite possibly.
And get it possibly.
I do believe
I've just put up a record of Arsenal's away record against Big Six. And this is very telling of Arsenal. No wins since 2016 in over 25 games. Teams in the Big Six, in the top 6.
Wow, really?
That's away from home, is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
25 games, no wins, 10 draws, 15 defeats, and
that's
just not good enough, is it?
Relegation.
Relegation. Top 6 need to win games against teams in the top 6. Not doing that, he's not going to progress.
Goodness.
Unfortunately, what Arsenal need isn't easy to find, and that is a couple of capable centre backs.
James Tarkowski and Ben Mee.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to spend 90 million, but it's just hard to find them. And Luiz was not that, that player.
No.
Flair, yes. Brazilian, yes, but discipline, no.
Yeah, so at the time when he came in, it seemed like a good bit of business, an improvement on what we had. Has he turned out that way? Probably not, based on today's performance. Not in the slightest. But it is interesting because we have been linked with a lot of defenders over the summer. We've got, as I said earlier, we've got Saliba coming into the team, who is, well, over in France is shaping up to be a very highly thought of defender, one for the future. So it'll be interesting to see what impact he has on the back line, if anything, next season as well.
Yeah.
It definitely is an area of focus from Arteta looking at. Also back in last transfer window, last season, seeing Tierney come in, obviously Louise came in, so there's definitely a focus on that. I know big money was spent on Pepe, and it's not working out currently, but there's definitely more focus on improving that back line.
Listen, Jason, it's not too late. Bring back George Graham, right? He'll sort out your defence.
Oh, that back four he had.
Now, I know he's 94 and can't walk, but that man knew how to build a defence, I'm telling you.
Oh, did he ever? What back four that was?
Yeah,
Anyone can name
Yeah,
that
it was crazy.
Anyone can
Remember
name
when
that
we won the
back four.
league in '98? Season what? I think it was 18 goals all season.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good
The
back.
thing is,
four.
though, it isn't true. I mean, you look how much City have paid. Was it the year you splashed out 200 million on 4 fullbacks?
Yeah.
It isn't easy. I mean, look at Liverpool. I mean, Van Dijk cost you what, 80 odd million. United bought Maguire for 80 odd million.
I know, but
it's if you want to build a defence that actually is going to be solid for you. Yeah, the likes of Luiz on a 1-year contract isn't really going to do it, is it? You've got to go and actually buy these. I mean, when was the last time you'd say, Jace, Arsenal actually had a centre back where you went, yeah, that's solid. Actually he's absolutely he's Arsenal through and through, going to be there for you.
Going back a long old time. I think you're going back to
black
Campbell,
and
I
white.
think.
Black and white TV.
Yeah, you're talking the kind of Campbell, Keown kind of,
Yeah, I think the last great defender which always come on would be Campbell. He was just actually incredible for us when he came over from Tottenham, and he was a massive reason of why we had a good patch in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But since then, yeah, you've not gone and splashed the money on someone that's actually going to be solid for you.
Oh,
Clever free kick.
I tell you,
I think defenders largely are just the people don't see the value in them. They see someone spend 80 million on a defender for thinking, oh, that's a bit of a waste of money. Why are you spending that? But they're just as important as your 80 million attackers. If you can't defend for nothing, you're in Arsenal situation.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day when we paid 30 million for Ferdinand, and everyone was like, oh, really. But ultimately, if you pay the right money, and Liverpool, I mean, Van Dijk is, everyone would say that's just value. Because of what he's actually done for the team. It's just and that's what if you're a great team, that's what you need to do, isn't it? Yeah.
I do think at the time that deal happened though, it was seen to be what they spend that much money for a defender. It's a defender. Why are you gonna spend that much on a defender? Now when you look at it now, you're thinking that's a bargain at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then if you look at
it's an evolution of the value of good defenders in football now, I think.
But don't lose sight of the fact as well that Liverpool's 2 full-backs cost a gross sum of £7 million. Trent and Robbo.
Yeah, look at the Burnley back four. I mean, I know it's different, and we have we have to work in different parameters. But Ben Mead, James Tarkowski, 2 of the most well-respected centre-halves in the Premier League, albeit not particularly very fashionable. James Tarkowski was trying to push himself into the England side, and they were both undisclosed fees, but I'm sure that Ben Mead was about 300,000, and I seem to think that James Tarkowski was about 2 million, something like that. And it's like, but they've developed their own style, and the Burnley have worked with them, and look how incredible they are.
Yeah, I agree.
It doesn't have to be 80 million.
I think you can coach players.
You can.
But to find that big physical, I suppose that's what Van Dijk is. He's a big physical sort of specimen of a bloke.
But I would argue he's not. I don't think you'll find another Van Dijk anywhere else. I think he's on his own there.
What do we think of Koulibaly? So he's getting a huge amount of plaudits, and I've seen him plenty because Liverpool played, against him in the Champions League. And, a great player. He seems a little awkward at times, but an incredible defender. Do you think, is he the number 2? I mean, would United spend 80, 90 million for Koulibaly? Do you think, Lee?
I don't think we would. No, I don't think we would. Not now we've signed Maguire. I don't think we would.
Yeah.
Maguire, 80 million. What in the world?
I know.
Oh, dirty, filthy Man City players there. Here's right in need. 2-0 up, guys.
Standard Rodri.
Look at the pressure bar.
Bill.
It's insane.
We've got him out. What the hell?
He's out. He's completely out.
What in the world was he thinking there?
He's so out.
He's completely out. He looks unconscious.
Yep.
Oh my God, this is
Oh,
bad.
he's moved. Thank God for that.
So,
Thank God for that.
so remember, guys, we're on radio. Who's out?
Yes, I'm sorry. I can't even see because now there's loads of people.
Garcia. Garcia. Edison came out for a header and absolutely cleaned him up.
Wow.
No other word for him. He was out. He was out as soon as he hit the floor.
Oh wow! Just seen it now.
Yeah. He was unconscious then for sure.
I'm not seeing it yet.
Oh yeah, just seen it. Yeah.
Oh.
Crikey.
And we've just made our last sub as well.
Yeah, you've only got 10 minutes left.
Yeah. It's head aside the last 10 minutes.
So, Natalie, you mentioned James Tarkowski earlier on. So I think it was on Tuesday that he was. I think the Mirror ran a story saying that Leicester City are battling Crystal Palace for the signature of Burnley and England centre back James Tarkowski. Any truth in that, or is that?
I have no idea.
Just paper gossip? Or?
Yeah, we have every for the past 3 transfer windows. There's been talk that we were going to lose Tarkowski. We had it, to be honest, when we sold what's his called? Michael. Yeah, Michael Keane, thank you. Sorry, I was distracted. Yeah, when we saw Keano to Everton, people expected that we'd only have Tarkowski for 6 months because he would be the next one to go. The reality is that we simply don't need to sell any of our players. We're in a very healthy financial position, and our success in the Premier League depends on us keeping this core group of players together. I would be very surprised if, I don't know, for some reason, Tarkowski doesn't seem to be that trendy in terms of people wanting him. I think the Burnley board should and would put a very, very high sale price on him because we would be in a really difficult position if we lost him. So I don't pay attention to transfer gossip, particularly this early in the window.
Yeah. Did Edison need to come out like that?
He absolutely didn't. That was a really reckless challenge.
It seemed obviously it's on his team, but it just seemed completely unnecessary.
That's Edison for you.
A bit like a Harold Schumacher. I don't know if you remember him from.
These incidents. This is the trouble with these incidents where actually I don't give a stuff about social distancing. It's about someone. You need to get out there, and the medical teams need to be there. And this is what worries me with maybe coming back for football too soon, whereby they're trying to then do the right thing, but actually ultimately when that sort of thing can happen in a game of football, the medical staff need to be bang right at it there to just deal with it and not worry about anything else.
I think they got on quite quickly there, to be fair.
Yeah, I was going to say the ref stopped the game instantly and it was shouting straight on. So
I think he went straight out there. He was unconscious before he hit the floor.
Yeah. Well, as someone who saw live,
do we know which player it is?
It's Eric Garcia.
It's Garcia. I was trying to look and see who was stood up and who wasn't.
Yeah. As someone who was there live when Paul Lake had something very similar and actually swallowed his tongue.
Oh,
and I was actually at the ground, and we're talking a long, long time ago, and this was before the medical staff. And the whole thing of that happening actually caused the medical, the actual regulations coming in.
Yeah.
So you've got doctor's pitch side and everything like that all the time.
Yeah. This looks really serious, guys.
Yeah. The good thing from my point of view is he has moved quite a bit.
Yeah, he has, but
yeah, it's pretty bad.
You can always tell by the reaction of other players, can't you, as to the situation.
Yeah,
as soon as it came out, I was like, oh God, that's a bad one.
Oh, seeing the replays of it just makes it look even worse.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh, these players are a little distressed out here.
Yeah, Mendy doesn't look good. He's barely looking at he's talking to someone, that's why.
Yeah.
Thing is, I didn't see, obviously he had the collision, but I then didn't see quite how he felt, how he landed.
He landed on his back, but he smacked his head straight away. He was out.
Yeah. He was out mid-air then, pretty much.
Yeah, I guess he's got to come off on oxygen, I imagine.
Yeah.
Oh dear, this is not a nice end to this game.
No, it isn't.
The only thing it will give Arsenal a glimmer of hope because it will be 10v10.
10v10. And to be honest, it could be.
To be fair, with the amount at the time we could see here as well.
Yeah.
Arsenal
are not going to score two goals.
Arsenal don't have any hope.
10v10 or not.
I don't think.
Sorry, Jason.
I got much on myself.
Jason's just like, I really
I can dream.
I'm like, I love, yes, like for the neutrals, let's try and whip some enthusiasm for an Arsenal comeback. But yeah, I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, if you think about the craziest game I've probably ever seen, which was the other way around, which was the 4-4 Arsenal Newcastle. Anything's possible.
Same game. Absolute Premier League classic.
Yeah.
No,
and then of course and then got repeated. Lightning struck twice.
But to be fair, one of the best games I've ever seen, I went to a Boxing Day about 7 years ago when we beat Newcastle 7-3. That's a fantastic game to go to, that one.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, you think about Premier League Classic, the City Arsenal 6-3. Not so long ago.
I'm not sure I can recall that many classic Burnley games in the Premier League. I'm not going to lie.
Is it a
I'm
win?
not going to try. Hey, we finished in Europe 2 years ago. Have some respect, man.
I do.
I guess we want Blackburn back in the Premier League so we can have a sellout crowd.
Whoa, that was unnecessary. that was unnecessary. Do you know what that is? Jason's been waiting the entire show for all the negative things I've said about Arsenal to get me back in one sentence. No, I do not want Blackburn back in the Premier League. I don't want them to go out of business. I always want them to be around because you want your rivals there. I just always want them to be worse than we are. I always want them to be rubbish. I've got no time for that club.
I tell you guys, I'm just having a look at Twitter, and it's all David Luiz. So he's getting a hell of a lot of stick. You know, several minutes after he's gone off, it's still all laying into him. Garcia 19, stretch it off. Players are not ready to return. So, yeah. Such a bad collision between Ederson and Garcia. Hopefully it's not as serious as it looks.
I've just seen the Hector Bellerin
the trees.
On Twitter. The trees. And then for every mistake that David Luiz makes.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So, Bellerin had previously said 12 hours ago, for every Arsenal game we win this season, I will plant 3,000 trees. That's a good message.
Well, there's no trees going up.
There's no trees. So somebody has re-quoted that and said, for every mistake that David Luiz makes, plant 3,000 trees. We'll probably have more trees. I think that's probably fair enough based on what we're seeing. This is a very serious time for Arsenal. I mean, this is the first time that they really have been set adrift from what you might call the top six in a European place. There's no guarantee that, Arsenal will make top 10 this season.
No.
And that brings all sorts of difficulties in terms of investing in the playing squad, revenue from match days and stuff like that. It's a very serious time.
Yeah, I mean, there was always going to be one of the traditional top six that dropped out this year just because of the season that Leicester have had.
Yeah.
Actually, that's another good point. Actually, one of the unfortunate results of the break in the Premier League is that there's going to be not as much of a celebration as to just how well Leicester have played this season. They were very, very good, and they were always going to finish probably in the top four and definitely top six. So at earlier points this season, it was kind of between Arsenal and United and Spurs as to who was going to be the side that dropped out of the traditional top six. And it looks like it's definitely going to be Arsenal now, and that they're not going to finish top six.
Yeah.
In fact, you also got Sheffield and Wolverhampton in there. They're the surprise packages of the season, especially Wolves coming up and just staying up there. It's been quite incredible.
Last season, this is their second season, I guess. I think that they did really well last season, but they did spend a lot of money, and they did, they've got a great coach, and they didn't just spend, because if you think about last season, I think Fulham also spent a lot of money last season as well, and Fulham it just didn't work. through a scattergun approach and just bought players and didn't really think about how they fit in the team. But Wolves last season spent a lot of money, spent about 200 million, but they spent it very wisely, and they actually got what they needed in the positions that they needed. So actually, I don't think Wolves have been that much of a surprise package this season. I think they are exactly where they expected to be, and that is around top 10 for sure.
And some of that spend was actually just securing the players that they'd had on loan.
Sure.
That were made
Correct.
permanent deals, so they
Yeah.
already know that those players. That there's no risk with
Right.
that, is it really?
No, exactly. They know that they're going to stay there. They know what they want. So, certainly, Sheffield United. It's a bit of a shame, really, because Sheffield United's season and their achievements this season has kind of been diluted a little bit because Wolves did it last season. Sheffield United are just the Wolves of this season. It just seems to be that there's a team that comes up that surprises everybody and does really very well. I don't think Sheffield United will. I think they'll probably finish around 9th, maybe 10th.
Wow, I'm not sure.
I don't think they'll finish. I don't think they'll. Well, as we saw today, I think the break in the season is going to
Hurt them.
damage. Yeah, Sheffield United. I still think. Listen, if they finish 10th in their first season in the Premier
That'd
League,
be incredible, right?
Brilliant. Yeah, people. I read a ridiculous article today, and this is again just the top elite snobbery that you can get in the press in the Premier League. But there was a complete clickbait.
Oh, what a pass!
Oh, it's
11 minutes of added time.
Oh yes, what a goal!
And the game.
And again, I saw a ridiculous clickbait summary headline basically saying mid-table mediocrity awaits Burnley, and it was like it's really shady article about how it's a really disappointing season because we're probably going to finish 10th. And I'm like, are you like what? Like 10th is a fantastic position for Burnley to finish in, but it just goes to show that expectations are very much hyped in this league. So that's a superb goal, by the way. Do you want to talk through it?
It's brilliant.
Right from the back, wasn't it? So pass from the back, opened up on the right hand side.
Aguero there.
Yeah, brilliant and great ball through. I think it was Sterling that played the ball through to Aguero, if off the post, and Foden there to follow up, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, pretty much. It was an assist for Aguero, then that'll be, won't it?
Yeah, that was a really good pass actually. There, you look at it and you think Sterling could have quite easily just gone for it himself there, and making that pass has probably secured the goal.
And another great save from Leno.
Yeah, to be fair, he's not really done a huge amount wrong, has he?
No, he's had absolutely no chance.
3-0, Jason.
And 9 minutes still to go.
It is. That serves you right, Jason, for that Blackburn comment.
See, and there was me. I was just building up to my kind of right. So who is it that picked 2-0 at the start of the game? Yeah, and I was thinking I'm sitting good here. It'll be tidy now. And now it's looking like Aces 3-0 could well be it.
Oh yeah, you did say 3-0, didn't you? Yes.
On the ball.
On the money.
But Foden does have this knack of he just seems to pop up in the right places, like exactly as you said earlier on, exactly the same way Silva does. It's just kind of there.
Yeah. Well, the thing that made it for me, I know we're going back a bit, the Under-18 World Cup final, when obviously he scored 2 and set up 1, I think it was. Again, even though obviously the standard of football is quite a bit lower, he just always appeared in the right place. And he's not scared to put a shift in.
There's going to be a few players around those positions. So not England strikers, the kind of the sort of England number 10s or the kind of playing or the wide players around that age range now of sort of 18 to 22. There is a lot of talent there.
Yeah. Well, there's a conversation a while ago. Would you have Grealish or Maddison for England? And at the time, there's no choice.
No, there isn't.
It's Maddison by a mile. It's not even close. Grealish
Yeah,
is a
you're
very
right.
good player in a very poor side.
Yeah,
So
but you look at that. You add into the mix there. Mason Mount at Chelsea, Jadon Sancho. Who's the other guy? Who's the other Chelsea? The other Chelsea player.
Yeah.
The one that, I can't think what his name is now.
No, it's gone.
Yeah. There's 5, 6, or 7 players that are in that age range where you kind of go, they're all playing, a decent level now, a young age, and I hate to say kind of golden generation or anything like that for England because that seems to been and gone, and it doesn't really work like that. But ultimately, you're looking at these players and thinking, wow, if 3 or 4 of them could actually all peak at the same time, that would be some attacking lineup. Because even the likes of Rashford for England and Kane's still not that old, is he?
No, not at all.
No. Yeah, I
Still,
think for England looking good going forward.
yeah, I think that's the key. England will look good going forward in the future. It's the rest of them. It's the defence. Who are the really good up-and-coming defenders? And goalkeepers, I think we're all right for, but defenders.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a right back at Liverpool, which is gonna be you'd like to think is pretty much nailed on for a long time, and I guess United with Wan-Bissaka's another potential. Right, it's centre backs, I guess, who seem to struggle at the moment.
Can I throw Charlie Taylor into the mix there, please?
Yeah,
Phenomenal
absolutely.
young talent. We're not going to keep hold of him for a long time, for another couple of years. I think we'll keep him, and he's got a big club heading for him.
What a pass from Edison.
Yeah, it was. Oh,
I mean, City were.
This is 4.
Oh no, it's not.
It's at the side. What the hell?
What a break that was.
You thought when John Stones went to City that was going to be another one where you just go, right, okay, he's just going to push on, and again, is just going to be a different class as a centre back, and it just that hasn't really happened for him, has it?
No, not at all. There's 2 things with him I've seen. One is he does get injured a lot, so much, it's unreal, and then he loses his confidence. It takes him months to get his confidence back. He gets his confidence back, he gets injured. And it's just a horrible...
Yeah, it must be pretty hard for him when you're in and out of the squad. Like, you can't get yourself settled, you can't find a routine.
It's not even Abraham, that's who we were thinking of.
Tommy Abraham.
Thank you.
Well
no, actually, no, it's not even Tommy. There's Tammy Abraham as well, but then there's another player at Chelsea. Hudson-Odoi.
Yeah, that's it. That's who
I was thinking of. And Kai's just mentioned in the chat, says, I can't believe you haven't discussed the big football story of the week. We did. I did talk about this on the APAT show on Tuesday, and that's Rashford changing government legislation.
Oh, yeah, I meant to ask about this at the beginning when you talked about United. I think this was absolutely phenomenal. I think, if anything, it was an absolute masterclass as to how to use your platform superbly. I think he was superb.
Well, yeah, it's an area which he cares passionately about.
Yeah.
And to be fair, he was heavily involved through lockdown and pretty much getting it quietly, just doing, just going about supporting or whatever. And then it's got to a point where he's felt it's not going the way it should go, and actually has decided, as you say, I'm going to use my position in the best possible way, and has gone about it the right way, has done the right interviews and spoken in the right way about it, and I mean, he just nailed it.
And that's it.
Nailed it.
He didn't just wake up one morning and decide that he was going to go on initiative to do this. Before he got to the point that he made it public knowledge and asked people for help, he'd, like you say, the way through lockdown, he'd set up a charity and they'd raised 20 million themselves in funding these schools. And then he got the charity to himself, where he then had the credibility to be able to come out and say, look, I've done all of this. I've done, Matt Hancock came out at the beginning of the global pandemic and went on some weird war with footballers about them deferring salaries and you must pay and everything, which was a wrong battle to pick, in my opinion. And then Rashford comes out and says, right, well, there you go. Now you can help us. And I just thought I think Rashford really showed up the government in that whole thing. I think it was impressive.
And got his name wrong.
Oh my God, did you see that this morning? Daniel Rashford. I'm just like, and then Latin said, just because my 5-year-old's a Harry Potter fan, I was just like, you are an abs. Do you know what? The cynic in me thinks that they might have been deliberate because they've had to make an embarrassing U-turn, that it was just a little bit of shade. I hope not. I agree.
Yeah, no, but it wouldn't surprise me.
No, I just think it was. I just think after the feel good and after what they've done, for God's sake, you've got one name to get right. It's shocking. And who? It's like, and it's not like he's a charity worker that's come out of nowhere. He's a pretty high profile footballer.
Yeah, I think the thing that stands out to me most about Rashford and this particular achievement is that the old saying, actions talk louder than words, and he's gone and done it, hasn't he? While a lot of people have been talking about stuff, Rashford has gone and done it. For a young lad, it's an incredible achievement, I think.
3 million kids his charity is going to feed in the summer.
Brilliant.
Who otherwise would have gone hungry, and I just think that's phenomenal. A good story to come out of the week.
Yeah, I think it's that charity that's been the driving force behind the government changing their stance. If he's not gone out there and made that effort and done what he has done himself, I don't think you have the right necessarily to then go to the government and say you need to change this.
Yeah,
they've not done it themselves. But wait for that and done all of that work. I think they've had to listen to him because he's completely shown what he's preaching, what he's saying, and you've got to applaud that. There's so many players out there that don't have that sort of attitude and mentality, and you could have to applaud it when someone comes out and does something like that.
Yeah, I agree. He put the government in a very difficult position, and it was a very well executed PR move.
That's what I think I liked about it, was actually the way it was done in a very calm, collected. Okay, don't worry, I've got this.
Yeah,
don't worry. Yeah, and I don't need to rant about it. I don't need to see who can talk loudest. I just going to position myself nicely, and it's nicely done. Now it's very, very good. Kai's also just mentioned Mason Greenwood at United is going to be a huge star. I think I just love watching him play. Really, really going to be a good talent. And Des at Liverpool, you've got a stack of youngsters coming
there's a
through.
ton of them.
You seem to be gathering them up at your academy quietly.
Curtis Jones has really impressed from midfield. Tall, sort of lanky local lad. Then
Game's finished, by the way.
You've got Harvey. How's it gone? You've got Harvey Elliott and Rhian Brewster. There's a bunch of them. There really is. Nico Williams at right back. There's a ton of them, which is great to see. But they're getting the chance, which is nice also.
But Jace, also Arsenal still are producing youngsters. It's just they don't seem to be that many that are breaking through.
Yeah, it seems to be that loads of youngsters are there and coming through, but they just don't seem to have the impact that they do at other clubs. Obviously, you've got Nelson coming through, Willock coming through, but they just don't have the same impact as youngsters coming through from the other clubs, and that's been a common theme for ages. Obviously, Martinelli is a youngster coming through, but again, he was bought over the summer, so he's not been developed by the club. It's strange how, for a club like Arsenal, who's historically have been linked with generating young players and developing youth, we don't have youth players that are coming through that are good enough to make a difference to the Arsenal team. That's very, very frustrating definitely from my part when you look at other clubs around us, with Liverpool, Chelsea, even some of the young City players coming through. I just don't understand how Arsenal just fallen behind in developing the players.
So it's ended up 3-0, which means Asa had it absolutely nailed on. So very, very quickly, Asa, just summarise from a City point of view.
Quite straightforward. It wasn't really in danger once we scored the first one. Nice and easy.
Excellent. And Jace, from an Arsenal point of view?
As expected, same defensive frailties coming through. Hopefully learn from it and push on against Brighton on Saturday. Yeah,
very much so. So, Des, give us a quick rundown of the final stats.
Well, I guess the 3-0, I think, accurately describes the game. You just have to look at that pressure bar there on your screen to indicate how little Arsenal had of it, particularly in the second half. From a stats point of view, oh gosh, here we go. So through the whole game, City had 67% of it. In the second half, they had 69%, but they seemed to really just take it easy in the last 10 minutes after the Garcia injury. Passes, City 381 passes, 96% accurate, Arsenal 164. There really was only one team in this, and I guess we'll have to wait a week or two to understand fully whether it was a great Man City performance or a pretty abject Arsenal performance.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Well, that's it from our first match day live. How was it for you, Natalie?
It was good. I thoroughly enjoyed that. It was nice. It was nice to have fans of the clubs on, because when you're watching these games as a neutral and just as a football fan, you often approach quite a high level analysis to things, and it's quite it's just something to watch. Whereas when you've got commentary from fans who obviously understand their teams and they've got the history there, I think it gives an added dynamic to watching a game that's thoroughly enjoyable.
Excellent stuff. Well, I think it just leaves it for us, for Natalie and I, to say thank you very much to Asa. Thank you very much to Jason. Really appreciate your input in the show. And keep an eye on Facebook, and we'll let you know when we're going to do this all again, hopefully. So from us, Matchday Live, good night.